Okay, welcome. This is the third session of the Wisdom Workshop on writing a good life. I'm super excited about it because I really do feel like it's a magical, I don't use that word lightly, it's a magical and transformative process that already feels really good thanks to everyone in here and the connections on deep work, mastering attention, going into work with more like passion and vigor. I know Brian is into the amelioration, making things better little by little by little, and thinking about, so we're thinking about kind of all of these things in the sense of what does it mean to live a good life and how might we do that? And we're going to look at that from a daily basis and a weekly basis and a 7-week basis. So we have like this 7-week chunk that I hope to take as a giant experiment in living a good life. So the goal is to not get it right. This is one of the things that we are unlearning this week, but to just try something to learn from it. So each week we'll have a different focus. This first week is on unlearning, which is where every learning journey should start. I don't know if we know the Zen story of the student that goes to see the Zen master. He's a tea master, and he goes, yes, I also, and I have a reheat ready for when I need it. Yeah, so the student
experiment.
I should have put that in the opening email, things to bring, some tea. Right, okay, so he goes to see the teacher, and the teacher starts pouring the tea, and then continues to pour the tea, and it overflows the cup, and the student gets really disturbed, and then it overflows the saucer, and it's going everywhere, and the student's like, can't you see that the cup is full? And the teacher's like, exactly, can't you see that the cup is full? And the student, aha! So the idea we're doing this week is just basically unlearning a lot of the baggage that we have around education, around, actually we'll just stop there, whatever. So one of the main skills of this course is free writing, which is about just being able to write with non-reactive awareness. Are we familiar with this term, non-reactive awareness? So it's basically, it's a mindfulness practice. Your goal is not to judge or react to what you're writing. It's just to write. So we have this idea that like if I sit down to write in my pages, that I'm trying to write well, or I'm trying to do it right. That's so I might write something and be like, oh, man. We're just practicing, and we're gonna set a timer for about 15 minutes to just write without reacting to what we write. So this is a free writing exercise. It's also a stream of consciousness exercise. Terry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. The non-reactive, I mean, it sounds like in some respects that it's not judging, but if you are free writing and you encounter something like, oh, that's interesting, let's keep going on this one. I mean, that's you are reacting to what's happening, but you're taking it farther. So you don't mean that when the non-reactive doesn't cover the going with the flow, right?
Does not cover going with the flow. Very helpful.
Okay.
Non-judgmental awareness.
Right.
So yes,
right, yeah,
by all
right.
means, if you're like, ooh, let's go there. And in fact,
yeah,
Sean's prompts really aren't that good. So there's a difference between judging and discerning. So you might be able to be like, this isn't working for me. I'm going to go in this direction. Right. That's not the same thing as bad or good. So yes, thank you. So yeah, be as reactive as you can be, but don't be judgmental, right, to the positive.
Right,
or
right.
yeah, so we're just non-judgmental awareness.
Right.
So we're trying to get out of the good or bad dichotomy.
Right.
So a compare contrast from a page point of view would be, one would be a bunch of scratch outs. The other would just be a bunch of misspelled pictures, a line here. It's finding connections in a organic kind of way. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. So right. There's some rules where I'm actually borrowing these from one of the texts. I said I should have had this more accessible, but that's judgmental awareness. So I'm like, that's fine if my book is over there. I didn't need to have it accessible. You guys didn't really mind that I was off camera for half a second, did you?
No.
So where did that idea
Good.
come from? You see, like, that's what we're trying to untrain. Okay, this is from Writing Down the Bones. And it is, her rules are, which I find really helpful. Just keep your hand moving.
Yeah.
This is on page 8. So just keep your hand moving. It doesn't, just keep your hand moving. 2, don't cross out. That's what made me think of it, Brian. So you're not crossing anything out. 3, don't worry about spelling, punctuation, or grammar. 4, lose control. That's a good rule. 5, don't think, don't get logical. We are actually also, we'll be looking at like heart-centered awareness and heart-centered education as we go through, and somatic presencing. I just heard last night to praise the earth through your feet. So we're like those kinds of like, get, be in your body. And then her last one is go for the jugular. If something comes up in your writing that's scary or naked, dive right into it. It probably has a lot of energy. So with that kind of free writing in mind, I do have some prompts that I want us to think about just to help us build community. And what usually will happen is that there'll be a free writing period, and that there'll be an invitation for us to, if things that come up that we want to share, because basically our first prompt is, who are you? Where are you? And what is the good life for you in this point of your life? So what does it look like? So who are you? This could be the roles that you play, or anything else about you that might be relevant to yourself. Where are you? I'm going to leave that as open as possible, geographically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, professionally, creatively. And then what's the good life? So what do you think the good life is? If you want to say, if you have goals for this course, we basically have about 2 weeks to kind of clarify what the goals for the course are. But if you already know what those are, that's great. And usually sometimes they change as we go. So you might get to week 4 and be like, you know what? I actually want to do this instead, which is great. That's usually good things happen. So we're just being loose with it. Is that okay? So we have like, basically, who are you and what is the good life are the 2 big questions. Cool?
Good life for ourselves, right?
Correct. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, this isn't a philosophy course in the abstract. It's a philosophy course in the personal.
Okay.
So yeah, who is it for you? Great question. Hey, we've gone about 15 minutes. Are we okay? Yeah, okay. That's great. Man, free writing always blows. So can we reflect on the process of how the process was and then before we move on? I don't know how new we are to this as a practice, or if this is something we do every morning, or how did that feel? The nonverbal thumbs up. Brian holds up a flower.
I'll share. It's a relatively new exercise for me, and I found myself doing this differently, knowing that I'm going to share.
I noticed that in the setup as I was talking about it.
And I was kind of fighting that urge. I'm like, okay, I've got to make this like a presentation form. I'm like, no, free form. And because I have been working on myself a lot lately, so I have been doing this free flow, no non-judgment thing, but I kept fighting that urge of like, oh, got, concise. And I didn't know how much time we had as far as this exercise. So I was like, I was ready in 5 minutes in case we were done in 5 minutes. But then I kept going, oh, I got more, I can do more and more. But yeah, anyway, I noticed that. And one thing I mean, just a side note, I want to work on this in this program, this course, is that transparency, is to show vulnerability, is to show, what, I feel anxious with these kind of things. So it is good that I can acknowledge it and talk about it and then just say, here's what I came up with during the time we had, period. No judgment of myself. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's real power in vulnerability. And it's one of the things that I wanted to share, that obviously we wanted this to be as safe as possible, like so people feel safe. And this is already a loving group, I can tell, and a non-judgmental group. So that's really good. And I do think there's share as much or as little as you would like, because I think there's a space for that. So awesome. Other reflections on the process?
It was different for me. I've done a lot of free writing, but somehow going into this with a little bit of Zen and just answering that second question, where I am in this life right now, is different for me. And so it brought up some interesting things. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. So yeah, I think that where we are in life plays a role into whatever experience we're having. So yeah.
I wanted to make the point based on what Brett said too. I do think the primary relationship in this class is between us and us. So it's basically between me and myself. Or it's, so you, for your pages, especially when we do the writing exercises in class, it should be an exercise where it's between you and you. So when you're thinking like, oh, I'm doing this for the presenting, that's not kind of.
And I say we because I feel there is something beyond identity that sometimes drives and often observes this becoming of identity. That's how I started.
Yeah, I was surprised with what came out, which is great. That's what I love about it. When I'm like, I said, I am a child of the universe, emphasis on child. And I also, when I went on my hike this morning, noticed how fast the weather was changing and how fast I'd adjusted where I was going. And that was a really powerful metaphor for me, I think, for aging in general, to be like more attuned to how those changes shift what I might be doing, whether or not I go deeper into the forest or turn back, and kind of paying attention to that. Where I feel like if I was younger, I would just be like, la! And now I'm like, oh, I might want to pay attention to this. And like, things are changing. Shit is dynamic. So, yeah, great. Terry?
So yeah, I was all over the place, but I had to rein it in a little bit. But yeah, I was out in the cosmos when I was trying to figure out where I was. I was like, okay, but then there was a lot of really good things that came up. I liked doing the writing. Yeah. So yeah, I got 3.5 pages written, and just
Fantastic.
kept on going. And
Fantastic.
then it was like, oh, I can start drawing people that are on the screen.
That's taken it in a whole new
That's right.
level.
But that's
fantastic.
the flow. Yeah, it's just that. Yeah, the flow of the pen reminded me of drawing, so I started that. And yeah.
Well, really, really good. And yeah, it's so nice to have a writing class and look up and see everybody just writing, because that does not happen in college. So we have 100% in here. Okay, I'm trying to get to my notes, but it's not working. And because I do want to actually, so I'll just do it by hand, I guess, and transfer it later. Can we do some introductions? Who we are, where we are? And then we'll do our definitions of the good life. I have some notes on Victor Turner's notion of communitas and how it's different from community. So we're going to look at the communitas of existential joy and how this is meant to be like a liminal space where we're entering and then exiting. So we're doing like the kind of, it's a little hippie. Ron Williams, one of my favorite professors that I had, was way into ritual studies, and we're kind of using some of that to think about community as we enter into this community. So and I think one of the best ways to do that is to hear our own unique perceptions of what the good life is, our own intuitions. So kind of who we are, and then what our notion of the good life is. I'll take some notes, then I'll have some other notes about that, and then we'll be done. We'll look kind of forward to next week. And then that's the kind of format of how this will work. Catch up, how's it going? Writing, reflecting, next week. And then the majority of the work will be whatever you choose to do in between our meetings. Okay, does anyone want to share first on who we are, where we are, and what the good life is, if you feel comfortable?
I'm always good, so if you ever need, say go. But I always like to create a little space because I know that I'm always quick to jump in. So feel aggressive when you're around me. It's fine. You can cut me off if you feel passionate. I'm just giving you everyone permission to cut me off. So there.
Does anybody other than Brian want to go before Brian? I think it's yours, Brian.
Yes,
there
right.
it is.
I have the same characteristics. So.
All right, cool.
I think we all do, actually. It seems like, or at least I do as well.
I've really been noticing a lot of external kind of pressures and pulls and things in my life right now that I'm just trying to shrug it off. Like, look, I've been guided, directed, pressured, for all my life. People telling me what to do, how to do it. That's not good enough. That's wrong. All of that. And it's like this soundtrack that's going on. But instead of it being in here, it's now I'm able to push it outside of myself. So I'm not identifying with that voice and vocalization. And a key thing that's changed in my life now is I have more freedom. My daughter just turned 17. She drives, she's independent, she's smart. She's got her life together. My son just turned 14 and he's in gymnastics and he's strong. He has a good set of friends. He needs some, guidance a little bit, but, he's gonna be fine. Like, my kids don't need me the way they needed me 5 years ago. And so I realized that I truly could leave the country. I could go anywhere in the world. I don't have anything holding me back. Unfortunately, I'm divorced. So they live with their mom and her guy. And so I go and visit them, and I will continue to visit them. But, and we have, because of COVID, I spent a year with them on Zoom. And so now I feel like I have this freedom. A friend of mine offered me a night on his boat. And I realized this tiny house concept of living on a boat works for me. I'm looking around, I live in a tiny space. And I'm thinking, how much can I get rid of and how fast can it go? I need to cut down, simplify, and just streamline my life so there's less complexity, so I can have more internal, dynamism. And I think that, when it gets to getting into the existence and what I want to shift, I want to make sure that I maintain my brain health. That's really important to me. I don't care about diet. I don't care about exercise. I care about brain health. And both of those things are connected to that. So that's one of my main focuses is brain health. The other focus I have is wealth. And I measure wealth in time. That means I want my time to be producing value. I want it to feel good to me. And I am a very emotional and physical person. I relate to things with touch. So I want it to feel good. I want my life to feel good. And I realized that, so another book that is my kind of recent read that's guiding me is Range. And the reason why this book is guiding me so much is because if I don't see the choice, how can I make a better one? And so David Epstein talks about broadening out and trying different things, look at things from different angles so that, you can have more of a life. So I've talked a friend into letting me stay a couple of nights on his boat so I can sample a new life. Yeah. I'm just expanding my range and having a different experience. Yeah. I got my second shot, and as a joke, I dyed my hair a lighter color so that I could say, yeah, I'm having these serious side effects. And my daughter loved it. She just fell off her chair laughing. And then when she found out that I did it just for that story, she fell off her chair again. So, I'm doing some radical things to kind of shift who I am so I can show up in a different way. I realize that life can have a dynamic, and that when you do different things, you're able to experience different aspects of yourself. So I really am exploring that. And I think that for me, one of the philosophers that's guiding me, because it speaks to Buddhism more than other things, is Epicurus. And at the heart of Epicurus is friendship. And I think for me, that's my sweet spot. It's how can I find a community of kindness, a community that circles around wanting the best for each other, sharing some good food, sharing some good thoughts, and being more authentic. I think that society has a way of trying to get us to be society and not be ourselves. So how can you let go of that societal pressure and really explore that inner dynamic and find ways to express it as you? Even if it is copying someone's voice for a time, until you can find your pacing and your dynamic to be yourself. I do feel that I struggle with an extrinsic stoic hustle. I live in an entrepreneurial world. My boss is an influencer, and he is all about marketing and making money and yada, yada, yada. And it's really fast paced, and I'm expected to fit into this mold, but it's not me. So there I am.
So, wow. One, Epicurus is one of like the inspirational figures of this whole thing. He was the one reading him. One, I was like, why didn't I get this in philosophy? Why didn't I get this as a master's in philosophy? Was it because he established an alternate to the academy and criticized the academy for being too abstract and only leading people to jobs inside of the academy? Was that, or like, does it not, like, is it because he's a hedonist? Like, why didn't we learn about this figure in the history of philosophy?
I just met him last year.
Me too.
He's new to my life.
Me too. And so it's interesting, and that's a big inspiration for all of this, honestly. It's like his model of learning, his model of friendship and ventures, and having time to read and reflect as a key of the good life. The other thing that you said that was really interesting, to be finding and pacing and dynamic, to be true to yourself or to be yourself, and really the quality of your attention, the quality of your time, wealth as time. And then the other piece about sampling different things to experience different ways of being in different parts of yourself, all totally in line with what we're doing. And also an interesting definition of the good life, even though it seemed like you were kind of describing the good life as you went, instead of saying, my definition of a good life is, you kind of gave us a, did you say anything else about what the good life is, or did I kind of cover it in my?
You covered it, but you brought up a realization of something that I realized. I was talking about characteristics of what I want to be, to attract the kinds of relationships I want in my life. And there was a nuance that I discovered of a way of being that captures something that's at the heart of who I am, and that's appreciation. I just believe that when you tap into that state of appreciation, it allows you to enjoy a concert. It allows you to enjoy a conversation, a book, a meal. And that is a fundamental for me. It's tapping. Those are my wow moments. When I'm really tapping into that feeling of appreciation, that's my moment. I'm in the zone. That's my flow that really jazzes me.
Tapping into the wow moments. I have not heard that definition of a good life, but it is one that I very much appreciate. Do you know gratefulness.org?
No.
And David Steindl, you should, I'll put it in the chat, but it's easy to remember. David Steindl-Rotz, he has he's a cool, I think Jesuit, cool monk who's it's like his life mission is to help people with gratitude and gratefulness. Really cool. They've got a cool word of the day, is daily gratefulness quote straight to your inbox that's worth the subscription, I think.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Anybody else want to jump in there?
I will. I'll jump.
Awesome.
So, right, and I'm not even sure what I wrote, but I'm not going to look at that.
Look at it. Awesome.
Right.
Man, you guys are on it.
Right. But I am going to, follow up with what Brian, the more authentic. I know I did sort of drift off in my writing a little bit about, not wanting to get, or, appreciating every moment, living every moment, and then, not wanting to be on my deathbed, and, remembering that what my mom said to me was that, I wasn't true to myself. And then I sort of got off on a tangent on my writing on, well, why wasn't she true to herself? Well, she was true to herself to say that to me, right? But at the same time, it was, trying to do what you think is right, or what other people, might, not think you're way out there or whatever, So I feel like, I have been, I want to dig deeper so that I'm even more true to who I am, right? And that's what this writing is going to let me do, and make sure that in the past I've done notes and writing, and it's been more of I'm true to myself on the page, right? But it's also wanting to be true to myself in life, right? And so, and a lot of my ideas are way out there, but I'm going to play with it, and because I want to play with it. And, the good life to me is, living from love and connecting, and, just being in that good energetic space, and learning. I think that there's a lot to learn. But what I'm going to learn is not from books, it's from experiences and from, connections. And that's, I think that that's the most valuable for me, to pursue that. The other thing too is that I'm Sean's mom.
The reveal! I was wondering when that was going to come up. I almost said mom before, but I didn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Brian started out with his kids.
There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. I'll finish with that one.
You said learning not from books, but from experiences and connections.
Yeah.
Can you say a little more about connections? Because I think the way you understand that is
Different.
and profound and
Yeah.
beneficial, or you don't have to.
Well, no. The connections is to the natural world, to nature,
Yeah.
and that, and just the energy, the connections of the energy that's happening throughout the world. But in particular, for this course, I'd like to dive deeper into connecting with different nature spirits and having a dialogue conversation with them and recording what it is. I've had some pretty amazing, or my wow moments. I want to pursue farther and dig deeper, right? As far as a lot of times I'll ask questions and I get answers, and then I'm so amazed that I just stop right there. So what I want to do is I want to have a longer conversation and learn. And there's a lot to learn, and where that's coming from. I mean, I just want to, but it's in a playful kind of spirit too, with no expectations. Just see what happens and learn from it.
When you share that, I felt a couple of things. One is it reminded me of the Upanishads, which is another one of my favorite stories.
Oh.
I spent 6 months in India, and it's an animistic kind of spiritual culture where things have meaning and can speak to us. So I want to thank you for having the courage to share that, because I think that we don't need to call them gods, but I believe that many spiritual traditions spoke with and had conversations beyond what is quote unquote normal in our regular society. And I would love to be in those kind of conversations. So I think that will open up my heart, most importantly, because it's going to bypass this garbage. Hearing things in a different way. I just want to let you know that I encourage that and I'm very open to it and looking forward to learning something.
That's great. Yeah, excellent. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked. Thanks. Thanks for expanding on what you mean by connections. I think it's you gave me the Tom Robbins books to read.
Jitterbug Perfume?
Right. Oh,
when I was a teenager.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about his writing style is that it gets the sense that the world is alive.
Oh, totally.
And that the coffee mug has something to tell me.
Yeah.
I remember I shared it with Jonathan, and he's like, "Yeah, I was 20 pages into the conversations between can of beans and spoon," and I was like, "I got it. There's got to be something better I can be doing with my time," which is so funny. But that's it, right? Like, the world is speaking to us if we listen, and then to have your ability to have conversations with it is a level beyond what I think is most people can accept. Which is why I wanted to. I'm fascinated by that. I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Okay.
Brett, did you want to go, or do you want me to go?
Sure. Either one.
You go.
Why don't you wrap it up? Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say, Terry, likewise with Brian, I echo that it'll be fun to explore that. I've had some amazing experiences as well, but they did require a little psilocybin,
right? Yeah.
To get me to where things were talking back to me. But yeah, that's a whole other discussion we should have. So as I mentioned, I started the conversation or the writing exercise with kind of being in that mode of, okay, I'm going to be presenting this. So Sean, as you mentioned, who are you? I'm 53 and I'm still figuring that out. It's like, it's changing, which is exciting. It's not a bad thing for sure. And it reminded me of Paula Poundstone, the comedian. She said, why we're always asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's to get ideas. So
That's great.
So I started the exercise with the roles, kind of playing it safe at first, thinking, okay, yes, I'm a father, I've got 3 boys. One has schizophrenia, that's a challenge. I am a secular humanist. I also love nature. Um, I play guitar, not as well as Sean, I can tell just by seeing his abilities. Not there. I'm a father, husband, a personal tech consultant. At the same time, I hate labels and constructs. So I don't like to be put in a box. Grew up in a very conservative religious home and feel so free from that. I definitely got some things I learned and love from growing up in that environment, but also love the freedom now that I can expand and learn and grow from all resources and worldviews. When I look at where I am, so I'm, I think the thing I'm working on right now is that balance between curiosity and wanting to always learn, yet be content. And again, that's a struggle of just wanting to live in the now. I think Terry, you touched on a little bit of the importance of living now, and also knowing that so much comes from within. As much as I love to read and learn about other life experiences from people, I also know it starts and ends with me, and it comes back to that I have it all within me. And like Brian, I love the Buddhists, a lot of Buddhist, secular Buddhist philosophy of that idea of you do a journey around the world, well, it's all back. You had it all within yourself for the beginning. Let's see, what else did I have here? My writing's hard to read. I should have thought with sharing, I'm going to have to read my own writing here. But
Or
yeah,
you
I
could
didn't lift up
just,
my
just go like Terry and just
free flow
just go off the cuff. Just leave what you wrote behind.
or talk to the cup. What is that going to say to me? Yeah.
Maybe.
As far as the good life, so just a few things I thought of. Again, truly living in the moment.
Yeah.
Teaching my kids that life is really hard, but worth living. The idea of always making it easy for them, I think, is a disservice. So it's been being very open and transparent about relationships with their mom, how things are. We openly talk about things with our kids. Again, maybe from my upbringing where we didn't do that. You suppressed, everything was good. You always showed this happy face, yet that's not what real life is like. So that's really important to me to show that authenticity, and giving back, making life better for others, I think is really important to me as well.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Brett. That was amazing. And one of the most amazing definitions that came out of the last session was this idea that when we think about a good life, traditionally and I'm going to share some ideas with you that are kind of focused on me living a good life. Like, what do I need to live a good life? And it came up the last session really clearly that the good life is helping other people live a good life.
Mm. So
when you are able to extend and kind of take the focus off of yourself in a way and reach out and help someone else live a good life, that's really what the good life is, providing delight to others, or doing extending goodness outwards. So yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I think that's a really awesome share. And I really appreciate the compassion and love, the parental sense there is really inspiring to me. I wrote, it surprised me, my sense the good life is me. That it's not something outside of myself. It's not like something that I'm doing. It's me. Like, this is the good life. So it's a matter more of paying attention, being grounded in my body, doing more movement, not having outside of myself. And that connects with what you said, Brett. I just heard someone, his name is, here it is. Sky Nelson Isaacs. He just wrote a book, and his previous book was on synchronicity. And his most recent book is on wholeness.
Ooh.
I have not read it. but he's coming from this idea that the universe is a mirror for us. And that if we can approach our life with a sense of wholeness, not of lack, not that we're looking for something, but that we're already whole and complete, that's when synchronicities start really happening. This is the sense that so he did research on indigenous people and other, thinking about how the universe is speaking to us in a way, not to fill us or fix us, but because we're a part of it and it's a part of us, or we're a part of it, it's a part of us. So I'm trying to move from the sense of wholeness, and he calls it a leap. So when Terry said, I'll take the leap, there's a leap of wholeness, to like leap into the sense that we're already complete. So I think I'm going to be playing with that. So that was surprising in my writing, that it's me, grounded in my body, expressed in my heart and hands, doing and being, a love and listening to the unfolding of life, and hopefully of enlightened consciousness. So I'm also trained in the Buddhist tradition, and that's kind of a framework that I have in terms of the heavenly states, or the immeasurable states, are equanimity, being okay with what happens, sympathetic joy, experiencing other people's joy as your own, compassion, which is interesting that they put this in the heavenly state, which is experiencing another person's pain and suffering as your own, which is like being with someone, and then loving kindness. So loving kindness, equanimity. So being in that space is like really what I'm doing here. Fire suppression by goats. That's not the right thing.
That's close to samadhi.
Yeah, it's the natural cycle. So everything's connected. No, I also said that I said the love of life is inseparable from the good of it. We must love our fates, embrace our impermanence, move forward with grace and joy and happiness.
It's beautiful.
Share and play. My goal for the workshop is to continue to play with this and to find new ways to have other people help, and to find new ways to have other people help me in a way that's helpful for them. So kind of leaning into the Epicurean, like, what does this look like so just have more play around, and just build on my insight from the last workshop, which was about reiteration and like turning. So this metaphor of things returning and being okay. Like, I don't have to figure it out right now. I can it's okay. If I just make a tiny bit of progress in 7 weeks, that's great. Like, don't try for anything else. I set this giant goal to have 40 people enrolled in this session. It's got 8. Hey. And I'm like feeling this group. It's like, this is perfect. Why was I beating myself up over this other goal? And I feel like because of the way this is, and because I'm getting to spend time with my mom in this classroom environment, and with both of you that are loving and kind people, I feel like it's going to be really beneficial for me in ways that I couldn't anticipate, which is what I love about it. Like, that's my surprise journal. Like, when things are surprising, I'm like, yes, I am the good life. Whoa, that's interesting. I haven't come up with that one yet. So that's my jam. That's why I want to have fun with it. For your notes or an understanding of go ahead, Brian,
I want to capture something for you, because you said something and may not have heard it.
Great, thank you. And I'm not taking notes, which is what I normally do to listen.
We're living in a parallel universe, right? And in this universe, you're living your good life. And for some reason, your identity is over here, where you're not realizing that you can just drop this pen and be in the good life.
Right.
Yeah. It's that easy. I mean, that's spontaneous enlightenment. That's Dochen. That's, let go of that which is not serving you, and all that is left is what the goats didn't eat, right? I mean, it's you're living in a life, which is how it is. And it's only our attachment to this extrinsic BS that gets us out of whack and thinking that there's something wrong with all that is. So that's what I heard you say.
No, I'm so glad that you punctuated that, because it's it's relatively easy for me to let go and drop that. Maybe it was I think it's just kind of part of my nature to feel how good that feels and be like, oh, that was nice. And so to redo that, I did write in my journal earlier today, get enlightened fast. Don't mess around. Yeah. So
You
it's
are.
funny that you said that, right?
Congratulations.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
It's
by the way, you've been.
all right. Well, this meeting is over. No, I do want to.
Done.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Oh boy. I wanted to give us. It doesn't seem relevant anymore, but the framework that I started this course with in The Good Life, the research on it is that there's 3 senses of things. And so this is another answer that we might want to work with, but honestly, your answers are fine. And there's a sense of purpose. So why am I here?
Right.
A sense of people and community. And then a sense of projects or it doesn't need to be projects, but active engagement, doing things. I like to add to those 3 Ps a sense of presence, which came up, being present to our experience, and an awareness of process so that we know that this is unfolding. And then also potentially patience, to just let things be as they are, kind of acceptance, rather than wanting them to go at the pace we want them to go, just being patient with them. There's another sense that, so what we're trying to play with basically, and we'll just kind of shift to what we're doing for the rest of the week, or the idea. We have kind of 2 tacks there's like the artistic, completely creative, which Julia Cameron's artist way is like our totem animal here. I think like I personally like about half of this book a lot, and the other half of it I'm not really a big fan of. So you might be like me, you might like all of it. Or have we read this book before, done this book before? Okay. Yeah, it's a classic for a reason. It's kind of powerful. And yeah, so this is like the artist, a spiritual path to higher creativity. The secular humanists in the room might be a little flu, but she addresses that well enough that it's like, you don't need to believe to get what this is. This is the kind of artistic, go with the flow, unleash your inner child, set up an artist state with your inner child, honor your inner child, take your inner child out to do what your inner child wants to do, and don't let anybody get in the way of that. Protect that time with your inner child, protect your inner child, learn from your inner child. Your inner child knows already, it's already enlightened. So listen to that inner child. Take it out on a walk. Let it go play in the ball pit. Whatever it wants. That's this. The complement to that is this book, Designing Your Life, which is more of the design, setting up experiments, prototyping. Brian said about like sampling different ways of being to learn more about who we are, framing our experience in ways that's more helpful, getting more curious, talking with more people, building our way forward. So it's like we have these 2 sources, and you can find this opening for this first week. The opening sections of the book are online on Amazon on the free preview. So if you read through them while you're waiting for them, or just to see whether or not you want to buy them, if you haven't, you can. This is like our Zen presencing, to be present in the experience, strong back, soft front, Zen mind, we're going to look at more. And this is like, and we're going to start here, and then we're going to move into, okay, how can I take this presencing and experiment with it? Put a different kind of container on my experience and see what that yields me. Do a different time box and see what that does. Try this at a different time. Talk to a different person. Explore with synchronicity. They both talk about synchronicity. because that's like a way forward to make meaning of our experience. Wayfinding is what they call it in this book, which is
Nice.
perfect. Well, the ancient art of figuring out where to go when you don't know where you're going,
Love it.
which is kind of what this course is about.
Cool.
By the beginning of our class next time, we're going to have things that are due, or they're invitations. This first week is the only week that I really want to make it required.
Okay.
Everything else is like optional. But what's required, it's in the document that I sent, that module 1, is a contract with yourself. I'm calling this a creative contract, and I want you to think about what you're going to do on the daily and what you're going to do on the weekly for the duration of the course. It also asks you to take this 7 weeks to take a little extra special care of yourself. Extra rest, extra good diet, extra mental brain health. Anything you can do to take good care of yourself, because as she says in Julia Cameron, if you take the artist way seriously and you really listen to your inner child, it can be disruptive and it can bring up some shit. So just take care of yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. So that's the other part of the creative contract. Like, I'm going to do these every day, or do my best to do it every day. I'm going to do this every week, and then and starting on this day, here we go. I think it's powerful.
All right.
We're going to build towards a 40-day streak is one thing, like just to do something, even if it's just 3 minutes a day, doing something every day for 40 days is powerful.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
I'm in.
All right. So this is already working. I don't even need to, I'll share you the link on Communitas, but it's basically like there's no hierarchy. It's joyous. It's kind of separate from our life, but also connected to it like a festival. So a festival is a great example of Communitas, which is what I hope this is. This is like a learning festival.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm feeling like I need to move. My body is telling me, and maybe might be better, since this is an hour 50 minutes, to maybe go like 30 minutes and then move and then come back just to listen to our bodies. That's probably healthier.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. That's pretty much it. I feel like this community was really easy to put together from a teaching standpoint. But this is the easiest of anyone. I don't know if it's because it's small or it's because my mom's in it and she's amazing.
No.
That's it.
That's probably it. No, it's because of all of us. So good job.
Good group.
It is a good group. I'm excited.
That's good.
And I honestly feel like this is going to help me do what I am here to do, which is the whole goal of this whole thing.
So then
Questions?
you will be participating, you will be doing it along with us then, it seems like,
Yeah.
as we go through. Right.
I didn't say, but my goals, I had the same thing last time. I have like 7 goals for the workshop. I mentioned one of them, to find new ways to help other people help me, partner and hire some help with and referral buddies, launch a new course on personal philosophy, spend 2 hours a day writing and working on the wisdom workshop, stay focused on publishing 1 piece of good content a day, however that is, blog, TikTok, YouTube, Clubhouse. Enjoy the process of that unfolding. So use that as a joyous experience, not a pressured experience. See how this grows and unfolds. I'm leaning into separate learning modules, different learning formats, a wait list model, so I'm not being crunched to try to fill classes at the last minute, because I did not enjoy that in the last 3 days. And then moving towards future different ways that this might be more of an academy rather than just a workshop model in the long term, thinking about legacy, how I could just make this so it transcends me quicker and see what that happens. So it's not me doing this, but more like finding facilitators to do this in different contexts, so that like the mission of this can spread without me, and see what happens if I try to accelerate that. And then I have a draft of this. I'll show you. It's kind of fun. I've been working on, in terms of the answer to your question, and I lugged these up here and I haven't done anything with them. This is the metaphor. I'm working on a book that is like connected to this. So I have like this, these tiny books, and then I've been translating the tiny books onto note cards that I've been sorting. And then I have like this nice like organizing structure that has like these are the notebooks and then the books that make it from there into so I'm working on 2 books.
Did you complete a PhD?
No, but
Okay,
I'm like
you're doing a thesis project right there.
basically, yes. Yeah, this is actually the model that my thesis advisor told me to use for my thesis, which I did not use. But as soon as you have I have literally like basically like 12 chapters. So like one of them is unlearning, which is what we're doing now. This is a chapter. Coherence, what we're doing next week. Wayfinding, connecting, collaborating, reflecting, designing. Designing is week 4. And then, a bunch of like random, the hidden scorecard. That's one of the ones that made it into this course. It's fantastic. Tools of transformation, on method, how Barbara Oakley learned how to change her brain. So I've got a bunch of these like little tiny, so I'm working on the book.
Had the seizure?
No, she's the expert on learning how to learn. She's a neuroscientist of learning. You would like her, Brian, Barbara Oakley. She's got a great, really accessible. She's kind of like a snarky, she's an interesting character.
All right. How to learn. All right.
Yeah, that's a really popular free online course that's just basically on teaching people how to learn. She's like, why don't we teach kids this? Stupid. And she's great. So yeah, I'm really my goal for this course is to spend a good hour a day playing with this stuff because I love playing with these note cards. It's really fun. And I just haven't given myself time to do it. And it's probably like the most important thing I could be doing. Because instead I've been like hustling.
Uh-huh.
You know that.
I know that one.
It's fucking dumb. But that's also not true. I've also been grading student essays. So, and that's nearly done also. So yes, I am doing the course. All right.
You just froze.
Until next week.
Any other questions?
Come back with a contract and some reading done.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and then that Google Drive folder. The other thing I should say is that we can email me if you have questions or if you want to set up a time.
Okay.
And I'd love to see if you don't need a project like this. You can just do the writing prompts, or you don't need to do the writing prompts. You can just do your contract. Those are all just options for you in your. I just don't want to leave you like, oh, what should I do? I don't know. Do one of the prompts that I sent you, or do whatever else. So this is like between you and your experiment of how much you can learn in 7 weeks. That's the goal.
Thank you.
Love it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Very good. It's a good group.
Thank you.
I'm energized.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
In a week.
Here. Bye.
See you.
Good night.
Good night.